as always.
Yeah.
To chit-chat, discuss issues.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I'm seeing quite interesting headlines on the newspapers.
Indeed.
I mean, sometimes they are empty, but there are times that, you know, they really put up a lot of wheat.
That's correct. And also, I think we should say that myself and Malik are becoming such regulars. We might end up taking over this show, Malik, and co-hosting it. I think we seem to be here more regular than the regulars.
There will be a day Mr. Khan will be hosting here.
Always come to me at the 11th hour and say, Mr. Khan, you have to come. They're so insistent. I'm
when I saw Mr. Khan coming into this studio, I was like, Mr. Khan, you don't come. Well, I have to come. Yeah, so, but it's good to have you here. I think our viewers are getting used to us on the program, and, you know, some of the reviews that we do here, they find it very interesting because I've engaged few of them outside, and, you know, surprisingly, they pinpoint certain people, and, you know, we follow what they do. So, I think we are at least giving them what they want. I mean,
we hope so. We hope so.
Yeah, so on the program, we'll take a look at the African proverb. Then we would be talking to Sirandao, country rep, Aniket, and we'll be talking about the bylaw conviction in Germany, crimes against humanity. As you know, the trial has been going on for a very long time. I've engaged Baba Haidara, the son of the leader Haidara, on several occasions at his office. So Baba said he'd been going to Germany up and down, up and down. So finally, last week, there was a verdict given. So I think, I mean, justice has been served.
We hope so.
And, you know, we will see what will happen.
Sure.
Yes. So we will be talking to Jenaba Sonko. She's currently in Dubai, attending the COP20. It's 28.
28. I thought she'd gone there to do shopping.
So I mean,
I thought she'd gone to do shopping because she hasn't sent anything for the last 2 days.
Oh,
so
really?
Jennifer,
so
you're going to have some explaining to do.
So she will be sending us updates of what is happening. Then we were supposed to have Mamadou Gajaga on sports, but I mean, Gajaga will be engaged on other activities today.
Okay.
So it's a tight day for him. So now we'll take a look at the African proverb. Mr. Ade, please.
It claims to come from Somalia, or it says it's a Somali proverb. It might come from Somaliland, of course, not just Somalia.
Somaliland?
Yes, it might come from there. It says Somali proverb, and it says, the child you sired hasn't sired you. The child you sired
hasn't sired you.
Interesting.
Did you say
the
child?
The child you
sired.
You sired.
Hasn't sired.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yes,
it's not your father. You are the father.
You are
the child has sired somebody. But not you.
Not you.
You are the father. It's not your father. That is what it means.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Shired does not shire you. Your child cannot be your father. You are the father. That is what it's trying to say.
That's right.
He that is the head of an organization or head of group or head is the leader.
Sure.
Is the leader. So those below cannot necessarily impose and become the leader when the leader is there.
Yeah.
So like the head of the household, like you in your household, you will be the head. Of course, no, your dad is there. So you cannot overtake whilst your dad is still there because they say he's the one that shired you. These are old English, you know, kind of language, shire you. It's your father, so your father is the father. The head is the head.
Well, that's
my limited interpretation.
That's obvious. I mean, your father is your father. You cannot be your father's father, except until.
But
at a point whereby your father named you after his father,
but even then you cannot.
Even though
you cannot. But yes, I mean, once you have sired a child, you know, I think that one of the reasons why things like these come up is because you go to a household and you hear people saying, my child is the one who controls this household or something like that, and people get upset like, no, you know, your child cannot control the household. You know, you're the parent. You should be the one in charge. But as Malik says, if you take it broader to a kind of company setting, the person who started the company will always be the person who started that company. For example, you know, even if somebody might rise high in that company, the facts are the facts. You cannot turn back time and say, oh, you know, you didn't start this company. You know, we had the recent incident where the guy who started this AI, artificial intelligence company, was sacked from the company he started, and 500 of his staff threatened to resign, and so he's been reinstated. But you know, he had started that company, and essentially they wanted to take it away from him. So, yeah.
Well, what it says, like, you cannot have Nyari
Nyari
Simbalka. That is a local saying.
Wow.
You cannot have two bulls in one
pen,
yeah,
one
so
pen,
there
as the
has to be
Jamaicans
one,
say.
It
one
reminds
Ngari
it
Maundi.
reminded
two
me
bull
of
in a pen.
the topic that we treated, I mean, during my school days, the Agama lizard.
Mm.
I mean, you cannot have two big Agama lizards in one
one
territory.
day,
yeah.
So one must conquer the other one.
Yeah,
So that,
mostly.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Right.
So
Even animals have that. There is always the leader
Yes,
of the
there's
pack
always
among
a-
the lions. So
Correct.
you can only become the leader if you kill that leader and then proceed. So anyway, adding to that, let me just tease Jaina, but you were saying that she was on a
Actually-
shopping mall. I think this is her. That's evidence
Uh,
that she's on a
January
shopping.
Christmas.
Yeah, Jaina, but we know you are on a shopping
Jaina,
spree.
yeah,
Yeah, we
correct.
can see that. It's evident there, yeah?
Yes, quite. Well, there you are. She's meant for that Christmas. Yes.
All right, so viewers will take a short break. After the break, then the program continues. Like, we'll be reviewing some of the papers making headlines on this program. Stay tuned.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. "5G speed is like having the juggler in your pocket. With lightning-fast download and upload speeds, you'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected, juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
We are back. This is QTV this morning. Ibrahim Abalda here with Mr. Ade Drame.
Indeed.
Yeah, so Ade, it's good to have you here once again.
Good to be back once again.
Yes.
You know.
So, I mean, President Barrow wants long jail time for migrant smugglers.
Yes.
You know, and President Mbalo says attempted coup d'etat is foiled in Guinea-Bissau.
Yep.
You know, so you know, people are still attempting to overthrow governments. I mean, in Africa. So it's not new, Mr. Carr. It's not something that we will be surprised to see, and they will keep happening. But it's not the right way to go.
Yeah, but it should stop. I know certain instances, you know, they can have a little bit of justification here and there. If you self-perpetuate without respecting the will of the people, sometimes you create instability. That is not to justify coup d'etats, though. But when you are supposed to be serving 2 terms, just serve 2 terms and exit. In elections, if you lose elections, also just accept and exit. But if you continue to impose yourself upon people, then other people will start cooking things. But I don't know that's the case in Guinea-Bissau, because I know they have a term limit.
They have term limits, and he's not been there that long either.
Yeah.
This one came out of an incident where 2 ministers were arrested for allegedly taking $10 million out of government funds. And then one part of the army went and broke into the police station and released the 2 ministers. So I'm not sure it was a coup d'etat or coup attempt as such, but that's what it is being described as by Mbalo Sissoho.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, these are the kind of things that instigate certain things. I mean, you know, if it's not, like I always mention, if it's not muffled quickly, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, but instability distorts development, because nobody will invest in a country where you are not assured the protection of your property and investment. And it retards these countries. They must appreciate that, you know, society must go through stages. Institutions must be protected and defended so that the integrity of the institutions is respected. But if we don't have those things in place, then we have a long way as African people to really progress and develop.
And you know, in our region, we seem to be having more and more of these either coup d'etats or attempted coup d'etats. Last night, I watched a documentary called Changement, and it was about Guinea-Conakry. And they were looking at the changes that there had been subsequent coup d'etats, and they showed Dadis Camara. And his first statement that he made, you know, we have not come here to stay. They all say that. We have not come here to stay. We will hand over to civilian rule rate. And then they interviewed people in the streets. And then a year later, they interviewed some of those same people, and they said, look at him now. And he was saying, I'm a son of Guinea. How can anybody tell me I should not stand or I cannot stand for the presidency? Well, you said you did not come to stay. You know, and of course, people took to the street, and we know what happened. He sent the soldiers out there, and they killed how many 100 people.
We used to have, that
he
incident
himself
here
was
in
shot.
'94. There was an interview conducted by a Senegalese journalist where a former president said, I mean, we are not here to stay. We are just here to civilize things and hand over power to civilians.
They all say that.
It's the get rich quick syndrome. You know, these soldiers, they easily come by the back door, usurp people's power and enrich themselves. And when they come with this Pan-Africanist language, you know, blah, blah. But in reality, they just come to enrich and perpetuate themselves. And that is the track record they have.
And even Doumbouya, who's there now, I bet you in a year's time he's going to say, I'm going to stand. I bet you. And when you saw Dadis, you saw people jubilating in the streets when he took over, singing his names. All these singers making songs about him. Yeah, they loved him, you know, and that went to his head. You know,
what people love then, Ade, is the change that they couldn't have effected democratically.
Right. Yes.
So the euphoria becomes something. But once that dies down, all this, you know, semanticism and all these things of Pan-Africanism,
all the fancy talk,
it
becomes
doesn't
nothing. Translate into anything.
They just become looters of public property.
That's the strategy they use.
And he had this thing that is where every month he would bring people from the ministries and berate them in a hall full of maybe 200 or 300 people. You're not doing your job properly, shouting at them. I watched it. It's 1.5 hour documentary. Perhaps we should show it on QTV. Very interesting documentary because it's got English subtitles as well. But, you know, and you know, he was shouting at them, screaming at them, but it's like, come on. You know,
but Ade, one thing, why is West Africa so prone to these coup d'etats?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Is it because of the lack of solid democratic institutions, or is it these people that self-perpetuate? What are that are identified?
I think democratic institutions and just democracy has not really taken hold. We do a kind of pretend democracy because there are people who you criticize a president. They say, oh, look at you, you're insulting the president. No, he stood for office. I don't like what he's doing, or I don't like what... I can blast him. It's my right as a citizen, as a voter. But people say, oh, it's disrespect. In a democracy, it's not disrespect. As a voter, if I am disappointed in my president, I should be able to criticize my president.
As long as it's not insolent.
Well, look, you know...
as long as if it's not a dictator that is sitting down. I mean, at some point, if you try it, you end up regretting it. That's why most people are scared of saying certain things. It is very few to mention a West African country in our region here that has not been, into this, a crisis, coup d'etat and the likes.
Senegal,
I think the only lucky country here is Senegal that I can mention.
And Cabo Verde. It's also a West African country. They've never had a coup d'etat. So, you know, but yes, I mean, we always mention Senegal as, you know, one of those places, but it's not the only one in West Africa, but it gets mentioned all the time, which is
But having said that, Senegal was almost at the brink. There was a time when the chaos there was almost inviting. People were really literally asking for the military, blah, blah. They don't know the unintended consequences.
The implications of making that request.
We have to create stability to have development. And we have to respect democratic institutions also to be civilized. You know, we have to respect what the people want. If the people want you as the president, they vote for you, people must respect that. And then we go on until that cycle is complete. If you don't want what you're doing, we vote you out. It's a simple mechanism.
And that goes to our leaders too. They should respect the will of the people. I mean, they should respect what the Constitution says. I mean, even changing the Constitution to suit your need, it's another coup d'etat.
Absolutely.
Of course,
So
of course.
I think we should.
And we've had a lot of those in West Africa,
Yeah.
sadly. And yeah.
So Barrow wants long jail time for migrant smugglers. I mean,
Yeah. He's made a couple of pronouncements whilst he's been on the Meet the People tour. It's an interesting one because, you know, when you have like the American Department of State trafficking in persons report, we're still at tier 2 according to them. Although the Gambia government is now saying we've now prosecuted and we fined people 100,000 fine for one particular gentleman. It's a difficult one. I mean, they're trying, but I think unless they start handing 10 and 15-year jail terms to these people, I don't think it's going to curb, because it seems to be on the increase again in the Gambia. So it's a very serious problem. And, you know, I saw again somebody from the immigration department saying, oh, these people don't know what they're putting themselves, you know, people drown, people this, that. They know. We hear about the drownings. We hear about people dying in the Sahara Desert. Nobody who has ears has not heard these, you know, or seen videos and stuff. So it's not that people don't, but people still take the risk. They think I'll be the lucky one who will get through. And I'm not sure what we can do ever to curb it or stop it.
well, it's unfortunate. I mean, the number is alarming. The people that are leaving
not a point.
now,
It's tragic.
now people are taking it as a normal way. I mean, I was in a village yesterday. I spoke to a few of them. I saw kids going to the football field. I mean, they were playing a match to remember 2 of their players who died on this dangerous journey. That's the back way. And I also engaged another person. What the person said is 9 of our youth in this village, I mean, they left like 2-3 months ago, but still we've not heard from any of them. You
So
know,
they don't
since
know whether
then,
they
they don't
got
know whether
through
they are
or they
alive
didn't.
or
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
So I think, Mr. Ka, it would be very difficult, I mean, to apprehend these people, because they have strategies, they have ways. Our borders are very porous. I mean, people can use different routes.
Yeah, well, we have to strengthen our Coast Guard because they leave these shores, and we also have to improve the intelligence as well because they operate within the community. It's not like they operate outside of the community, so people are bound to know. So it's the intelligence here that should work in order to penetrate these communities, especially areas that are identified as the departure points or communities, because the statistics would be there as to which communities are the ones most, you know, prone to going through the back way. So once you identify that, you can have your intelligence here be giving a report, and then you find who the, you know, main culprits are, the ones that organize this trafficking, and then you prosecute them like they rightly said, and give them sentences.
Well, it's as if the Voice newspaper heard Mr. Carr there, because their headline top right says GID intercepts 29 migrant boats. So
they've done great then.
So you know, they're doing what they can. You know, it's not
So
perfect.
that's a huge number.
But it's a
so
big
they're
number.
working with the EU, I guess,
That's
in terms
correct.
of capacity building and
Yes.
all that. Yeah, that's
Yes.
what we need to do.
But
Just
you know,
police the coastline.
Well,
work
that's right.
with Senegalese and the other. All these countries should work together. It's not like an isolated effort. Senegal, Mauritania, because these are the coastal countries through which they have to pass. So if we organize and coordinate the efforts, they will be able to impact it.
And the reason it's important is not just in terms of curbing migrant smuggling. A lot of these people, if these routes are not policed, then drugs and arms are trafficked into these countries, and then they end up destabilizing our countries. So, you know, we need to be sort of very strategic
Yeah,
about
but
this.
they will always be smart. Like I had new routes being opened, flying to Nicaragua and then crossing. You know, that's a
quite.
different one.
Yeah, quite.
So they are always creative.
Yeah,
The
quite.
criminal is always one step ahead and looking at ways and means of making money. So it's not just focusing on the seaside. There are other routes as well that are being explored, and Nicaragua happens to be one.
Yeah, so now let's take a look at residents of Talinding, Ibo Town, Talinding, Koloban residents dwelling in the midst of stinking wastewater. You know, the living conditions around that area, it's really terrible. I mean, you see people living, I mean, in stinking water. Some of their homes, to live there is unbearable.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, when you hear and see things like this, it makes you wonder how did it get to this stage? Did the residents not say, let's come together and do something about it? Has the council done nothing about it? You know, why did it get to such a critical stage where it's becoming unbearable? You know, I'm always shocked when these things reach this,
Yeah,
this
but
kind of
if
stage.
it becomes a health issue, then the government also should take it as a matter of interest to work with the council to clear it, because such type of things can lead to having cholera and other sort of diseases that can spread easily. So intervention is needed now that they are making a cry in the public space. I think the authorities should take notice, go and see what is happening there and see how to create drains or whatever in order to ensure that, you know, they assure the people that live there fresh breathing air. I think they are.
Well, I mean, for that area, I think most of the people are sitting on waterways. I mean, it makes it difficult for the easy flow of water at some point, and it's closer to the river as well. You know, so I think most of these waters that come from the town here, you know, that go straight to the river. Some of these waters are blocked, so at some point they'll have to, I mean, be stagnant in their homes, and at some point too, some of them are closer to the river. So you will see waters, I mean, in their compound. So I think
Ade will send his people to go
Yeah,
and
so-
make a report.
so I
Let's
think-
see what is happening there.
absolutely.
I think it's
because
important.
it's, you know.
We need to show this. I mean, at least to show them
And speak to the
that we
people
care. Yes.
responsible, you know, speak to the residents,
And try
speak
and
to the
get
councils,
solution,
and find out, you know, and, you know, we have, you know, Environment Agency, who speak to them as well, you know, because, you know, what are they doing about it? Something, nothing, you know, I think the public needs to know.
Pensioner says, I mean, they
Calls
too
on NAMS.
should get 75% as the National Assembly has provided for former presidents.
That's right, and there's a thing in the site which says pensioner calls on NAMS to revisit government pension scheme.
Yeah, you know, this morning I was telling my little brother, I said to him, look, I mean, the system here is structured in such a way. If you pension, the system should have taken care of you. But now instead, you will be taking care of yourself.
We are not that rich, but at least they can be generous, more generous than what they do now.
Yeah. We cannot provide 100%.
Yes, but that you're contributing, and the pension fund is supposed to invest. And by investing, the profit they realize, they should be able to share it with the pensioners, because they are the owners of the pension fund. And we know that Social Security does collect a lot of money, and they are investing. So those investments have to be very good investments in the interest of the pensioners. So they should be revisiting and then augmenting what they're being paid, because definitely it's relatively peanuts.
Well, it's good that you mentioned it's peanuts. I mean, at some point it's, but I think we can do better.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Mr. Ade?
Yeah, I mean, there's one, we'll go abroad, or just next door, Senegal. That's from the Foroya. Supreme Court dismisses Sonko's request to review judgment. He tried to get the court to revisit its own judgment, and the court said he did not provide sufficient reason why they should go back on their judgment, which denies him the right to contest the elections next year. So for the moment, he can't take it any higher. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, and they have ruled, and they have not seen fit to go back on their own ruling.
So we have exhausted, that is
All
the avenues of reversing.
appeal and so on. Yeah.
So well, the Senegal,
well,
that's a political organization. They have to review their strategy and then come up with alternatives and tactics. These things happen in politics. Sometimes you incarcerate the leader. I mean, cry is foul. It could be political. It might not be, but nonetheless, you know, it should not stop them continue to organize and then strategize and come up with a plan B. They were trying to, with that plan B, they identified
A replacement.
a replacement for him. I don't know how impactful that would be, because
And he's also facing court cases.
because Sonko is a larger than life figure in Senegal.
Sure.
You have a lot of following amongst the youth, very radicalized, but we will see how it goes, because
Well, I think
it's not far off now. For the
I
elections.
think we focus more on the individual than the party at some point too.
Well, the party has
which
also
is-
been dissolved, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so, I
so
mean,
they have to reconstitute
yeah.
under another name. But the party has been dissolved also.
Yeah, but
by the courts.
that's the reality of things. Sometimes you have an individual with a big name, with a lot of following, so that cannot be changed. So people have to rally around that person. He's the center of the universe of that party. So people may argue it's the party, but the person sometimes is the leader that can make a difference in certain instances.
And I think we've discussed this before. In Africa, a lot of parties seem to be just identified with one person kind of almost dominates the party and is the party's identity. I guess because we have presidential rather than prime ministerial system. So, of course, the person who's the head of the party is all about him. You have it here with the president, NPP. You have it with all the political parties in the Gambia, essentially, and the same in Sierra Leone.
Cool.
You know, the person who is head of the party very much sort of dominates the landscape of that party.
Well, that's politics for you, especially in this area.
Politics of personality.
Yeah, so that is what it is. Any other thing you have?
I mean, there are lots of stories. Various ones that I'm not. There's one. It says imams are not included in government pay structure. I don't know what the details
I
are.
wanted to mention that, but I said I should leave that to Imam. Yeah, maybe if he comes, then we will engage him.
We can
maybe
ask
he would
him
be
whether-
able to tell us one or two things about this.
Yeah, and you know, I guess we can deal with this when we deal with the matter later. Emergency Assistance Fellowship renamed the Data Hydra Scholarship.
Yeah.
So that's one which is very, very.
Yeah, I can see Senator Dick Durbin hails bylaws verdict. I mean,
Yeah.
that's on the Point newspaper. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the verdict has been well received in most places, but as Malik said at the start, it's only the tip of the
Yeah,
iceberg.
by law is done now.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
others, there are
There-
lots
there-
of
there are a lot
other
more.
people who are accused.
And will be quaking in their boots, possibly.
Well, I think it's important for us to strengthen our justice system as a country. I mean, this happened in Germany. You know, we've all seen how the pace was going, how they were concerned, how authorities were concerned to bring this perpetrator to book. At some point, there was a verdict, you understand? And I think, I mean, our own authorities too should learn from this so that they can serve justice, Mr. Ade.
It's not simple.
It's not the same
I
as,
remember when I was in Freetown when Charles Taylor was arrested, and they brought him to Freetown. It was so remarkable. You had to be there to believe it. One day, Freetonians were jubilating and celebrating the fact that this man had been captured and had been brought to Freetown. The next day, there was trepidation. They said, oh, what if his men decided to cross the border from Liberia to try and free him? So it's not so easy in some ways. So luckily for Sierra Leone, he was then immediately flown to Abuja 2 days later. But there was real fear.
Mr. Ade, I'll come
that
back
might
to you.
happen.
Jennifer Sonko is on the line. I mean, we'll talk to her. She's currently in Dubai attending the COP28.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
You know, Jennifer,
Allegedly. I don't know what is she doing there. I mean, I've seen her, you know.
With Father Christmas.
Yeah, I think she's
Posing with
doing
Father
some
Christmas.
shopping in Dubai. Jennifer, good morning. How are you? Is it afternoon in Dubai?
Good morning,
It's morning.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we need to fix
We're
that.
unable to hear
so
Jennifer,
sound,
so,
yes.
yeah.
Let's talk about the COP28. I mean, 26 was in Glasgow, and then we went to Egypt. Now we are in Dubai.
That's right.
You know, the commitments and at the same time, you know, the actions that leads to certain things and the bigger contributors as well. I think there are a lot of things that should be done, and people should be committed to some of these commitments as well.
Well, Al Jaber, who is the minister who's also chairing this on behalf of Dubai, this morning has thrown a hand grenade into the discussions because he has said that there is no science behind why countries should give up on fossil fuels. Of course, he would say that. He's a country that is, you know, got its wealth from fossil fuels, as did some of the other countries. And so, it's quite a controversial statement, and it's going to dominate proceedings.
Yeah, so if Jennifer is on the line, good morning, Jennifer.
Good afternoon.
Oh, it's afternoon in Dubai.
Yes, it's afternoon in Dubai. Can you hear me, Ibrahim?
There's an echo, but we can hear you.
Yes. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here.
Can we come back to Jennifer, please, and fix that?
That sound is
Yes.
not acceptable.
Yes. Mr. Ade, you mentioned, I mean, they are part of the people that contribute to, the biggest producers when it comes to releasing fossil fuel and using fossil fuel. So he refused to agree to some of these, commitments.
It's not that he's refused. He's quite a curious fellow, because at the opening of this very conference, he was criticizing these bigger nations that had made commitments and not stood up to them. And he was particularly pointing to Africa and say Africa is suffering because of our failure to meet our commitments and the pledges that we've given. And yet today, he's come up with this quite a controversial statement, saying that he doesn't agree with, of course, look, these days, and I was quite blunt when I discussed it with a friend, I said anybody who can read and write now thinks that they can disagree with scientists. And he's saying that the science behind why countries should stop producing fossil fuels just doesn't stand up to any scrutiny. I don't know what he's based it on, other than the fact that he's the Minister for Oil, for an oil-producing country. So, of course, he doesn't want to do something that will harm his country's wealth. But it's been received with shock that the person who's chairing COP28, when one of the things on the agenda is actually reducing fossil fuels, that he should come out with this statement at this conference. Is quite controversial.
Well, as much as we are against it, he's been realistic. He knows his, situation. Mr. Ka, since COP26, I've been following the COP. But there are a lot of commitments. Big nations will come and commit themselves to do certain things. At the same time, some of them, in fact, some of the biggest contributors, at times they are not present.
They don't even turn up.
They don't even turn up to certain things, certain places.
Yeah, this is the problem. The subsidy amount committed amounts almost to $70 trillion US. That's what they need to really offset, so that other countries that are just coming into the arena of exploiting fossil fuel will not, so that they can compensate them. But they are not coming with the money. But the fact remains that we only have one world. We all live in this one singular earth. So we either destroy it together, or we try to work and ensure that we reduce greenhouse effect and reduce the temperature, because the temperatures is obvious, it's evident. The climate is changing. We have the El Nino effect, we have the rivers, we have the ice melting. If you go to the polar regions, the ice is melting. These are documented and it's on record, scientifically proven. We have seen the island nations sinking. We have seen earthquakes increasing. The nature is becoming extremely violent because of the changes. And we can establish that these events are happening because of the greenhouse effect. So there is no dispute anymore. So the deniers, the nayers, can rest their case, because there is sufficient scientific evidence to support that there is climate change. So what do we do together in order to ensure that we reverse it? This is our responsibility. So we either destroy the world together, or we ensure that we kept, our promises and make sure that we do that.
Well,
you said that Al Jaber was being realistic. Some of the people that the BBC spoke to in the report that I heard were very critical, and they said this just shows that all these COP, Conference of Parties, is just a talking shop. Because if the person who's chairing it can come up with such a statement, then what?
Publicly.
Publicly. He didn't say it in secret. then what's the point of the whole exercise?
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, Mr. Ka, thank you very much for reviewing some of these stories with us. And Mr. Ade, we'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll be talking to Sirandao country rep Aniket, and of course, we'll be talking to Awanjai, widow of Abdullah Dotfal, victim of 1994 incident. And we'll be engaging Baba Haidara, the son of the late Deda Haidara. He will be on the line with us as we, delve into the conviction of bylaw in Germany. So we'll take a short break. After the break, we'll be back.
Go, ebeda full network suda tili QCell. Ni lafta diamula wati jamala mune diata QCell. Most reliable network dumala geta wati QCell. Wo quality man yon sota jam pona manke QCell. Hanibe wulo ni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network o se taria. In the 3G, New Delhi Taxi 4G Plus, and now we bring you 5G. 5G. First and only 5G provider. Tell her follow Adi Doron Nessa Keno. Gambia Bela Nyon Tower Fele QCell. Go Fasunta Buka Busi QCell. Tell them multi milk a kukutol, Nati Gambia, QCell made a lorry like
This is the Gambia's authorized dealer for Chery, Kia, Ford, and now we bring you the new Peugeot Model 3008 SUV. 18-inch alloy wheels, 216 inches high ground clearance, keyless entry system, start and stop button, rear parking assistance system with reverse camera, adaptive cruise control with speed limit, LED daytime running lights, front and side airbags, 8-inch HD touchscreen. Not to forget our exquisite Peugeot Landtrek double cabin pickup. Dealer for Peugeot. Visit us today or call us on 35222222 or 353-4444.
Yes, we are back. We are not able to get through Jennifer Sonko, but she is currently in Dubai attending the COP28. And I know tomorrow, inshallah, we'll be able to engage her on the program. Now let's turn our attention to the conviction of Bailo in Germany. I mean, this trial has been going on for a very long time. I've engaged Baba Haider on several occasions. We've been going to Germany, very consistent. And last week he called me. He said, I mean, I think we are reaching to a point, for judgment. Now it is given. We have Sirandao, country rep, Aniket, and Awanjai, widow of Abdullah Dotfal. I mean, Dotfal, it's not a new name. When you've been following the TRRC, we've been mentioned on several occasions, and we've been seeing pictures of him as well. So we have the Awanjai, widow of Abdullah Dotfal, and we will be engaging Baba Haider on the line. But good morning, Auntie Sira and Auntie Awa.
Good morning.
Yes, Auntie Sira, it's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yes, I mean, when you are sitting on the same platform with your boss, I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, that's awesome.
Former boss.
You're still my boss. A boss is always a boss.
I disowned you.
Yeah, so, oh, really? Yes. Please appeal on my behalf. Okay, so please take us through the activities of Aniket before we delve into this conviction.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Aniket is the African Network Against Extrajudicial Killings and Enforced Disappearances, and our mandate revolves around those two violations that I mentioned, extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. It's a victim-led civil society organization. It was founded by Nana Jondao, whose father was disappeared in 2013, sworn down and killed allegedly by one of the junglers. In 2013, around that time, we found out through TRRC. And after the regime of Yahya Jammeh failed through the elections in December 2016, she decided to use her pain to try and prevent others from going through this process by promoting impunity, advocating for the lack of impunity against these crimes, and also making sure that there's no such thing anymore. Basically, eradication of enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings, where so that people don't have to face the same pain that she's gone through, and the family, of course. Aniket engages in different areas. We work on documentation and archiving, memorialization, strategic litigation, and other activities surrounding the promotion of peace and justice and accountability in particular. One of our main focuses is justice and accountability in the work that we do. So, of course, we're very pleased by this conviction of Bailo, and we've been working with the different partners, both local CSOs and international NGOs around this. The strategic litigation we engage in is we've had 4 cases at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice, where in July, actually, one of the cases, which was the case against the Gambia government, which Nana Jondao had put to the ECOWAS, they ruled in favor of Nana Jo, agreeing that the Gambia government had violated the rights of her father's right to life, and also the lack of timely investigations. We have a museum, memorial center for victims of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances in Kanifing, called Memory House. And the Memory House really is a place to honor and remember the victims of the regime, the past regime, victims of human rights violation. And also really using that as a way to use our past, as our past experience, keeping it present, but also making sure that we are using that experience to make a better Gambia, in the sense, promoting of the human rights violation, a culture of respect for human rights violation, a culture for respect for rule of law. It's a public space in Kanifing layout, and we regularly engage young people particularly. That's one of our biggest activities, where we engage students from the high schools, senior secondary schools, and youth groups to discuss and talk about and learn about, relearn. I always call it relearn, because really these are things that we know, and we have done before. During the Jawara regime, Gambia was a beacon for human rights, and people came here, and it's still really we still have that potential really to make it very much a part of our lives again, respect for human rights and rule of law.
True.
So we really are relearning that, working with young people, the next generation. And of course, most of these students in the schools might have been quite young when the Jammeh regime was ongoing, so they did not know about it. So we teach them the history. The very recent history about teaching that, but also engaging them to see how we can make a better Gambia.
Yeah, so it's important, like you said, for us to relearn. I mean, let's echo this into the ears of the young ones so that they will not forget where we are coming from, which is very significant. Anti Awa ñu dalal la si programme bi.
maa ngi leen a jërëjëfal.
Waaw.
ñu ñëw fi rek tey pour dëgg la ñun ñëpp kontaan nañ ci mbiri bayloo bi ndax is a step forward pour victime ci xam ne justice mu ngi ñëw ndànka waaye tey man suma jotaay bi fii nii tey dinaa gën a wax si mbiri November 11 because naka Ablaye Dot Fall was a victim of November 11 so dinaa kontaan trop pour mun a wax si mbiri November 11 mun naa cee xuus tuuti.
dëgg la yow bokk nga si ñoo xam ne saa su ne su ma déggee TRRC rek mental picture bu ma dee am yow dang si dee ñëw because seetaan naa sa TRRC boo toogee di wax so you know anytime ma dégga TRRC or ma dégga anything that has to do with TRRC dama dee I don't know for some reason dama sa dang dee ñëw suma xel bi you know bëggoon nañ rek nga waxaat ñu bés bi lan la def si yow.
waaw bés bi like November 11 waaw November 11 moom bés bu rëy la woon si man su ma koy fàttaleku mu indil ma waat back si bés ba after many years mu nekk bés boo xam ne bési naxar la woon bési trauma ba léegi trauma la ñuy dundal lu metti ñun ak suñ njaboot di ko dunda ak suñ mbokki victime ci nga xam ne ñoo ko bokkoon ci bés boobu noonu ba léegi nag ñuy sofa si loolu di ko xeex pour justice taxaw waaye bés boobu noonu November 10 daal si néeg bi lañu bàyyi ñu ngi toog mu ñëw taxaw ne dama génn dem ci fiil bi dafa génn dem ci fiil bi mu génn dem ba ci bunta bi mu delsiwaat taxaw xool delluwaat delsi jël doomam xog ko taxaw fu mu taxaw foofu la taxaw ba man ma ton ne ko waa xanaa lana xew mu ne dara jël xale bi delloowaat ko si lal bi den mu muuf dem bés boobu noonu dafa dem yàggu dara si lañ dégga gunshot si lañ gunshot yooyu noonu te am na lu ñu xaloon a jàngal tuuti ne suñ déggee dara something like that ci biir army camp dañ war a wàccee suñ mat lay teg ko ci suuf te dafa waaye doo mën a tëdda sax because doo comfortable si dégga si li nga dégga so wàccee nañ mat lay doo waaye noonu lañ fa toogee rek ba bor set waaye ba balaa bor di set tamit there was a knock on my door am na soldaar yu knock waaye doo leen mun a xàmmee ci melokaan biñ meloon doo si mun a xàmmee kenn ñu ñëw di ma laaj caabi amore bi ma ne man gisuma caabi amore xaw ma si dara si mbiri caabi amore bi
fekka Dot Fall moo doon denc caabi amore
waaw moom moo amee woon caabi amore bi waaye ma ne leen gisuma caabi amore si lañ taxaw ubbil bunta ma ne non mënuma ubbi bunta bi maa ngi taxaw si palanteer bi di leen yurndu nii waaye mënuma si xàmmee kenn so si lañ decide pour dem waaye à part bi loolu bi fajar gi jotee man dama génn dem di ko uti dem si medic bi pour laajte whereaboutam waaye mënuma xam benn information because koo laajtel si ñi fa reeree woon si guddi because fa lañ reeree si guddi balaa ñooy dem waaye koo tasel si ñi fa reeree woon si guddi boobu noonu soo ko bëggee laaj daf la dee romba mënuma am benn information si bés boobu noonu léegi ñuy dem ba nga xam ne am na si ku sacrifice pour wax ma everything waaye that was after loolu after la liñ la kooku toog pour wax ma yëpp mbiri li xewoon ci November 11 bi ak naka lañ leen reyee ak ba fiñ toll nii tey waaye muy trauma boo xam ne nag daf ñu topp ba léegi
ana doom bi
mu ngi fa léegi booy la mu ngi fa waaye ba léegi tamit moom tamit wax dëgg daf ko sonal trop parce que dafa tax mënutoon a jàngam soriwut try nañ lu nekk waaye mënutoon a possible daal
waaw dinañ del si yow Aunty Sira I mean this the conviction of Bailo it's telling you the law have long arms. It can pick you anywhere. Even if you leave the Gambia, you commit it here, you go to another country, they will still get you, try you in that country, and lock you up.
It's definitely a very strong message. Very strong message, especially the sentencing that giving him life sentence. A very strong message for the victims that justice is coming, but also a very strong message to the perpetrators that no matter where you are, they will come for you. And you know, with the junglers especially, where there are a couple of them I think around still, a few of them, Malik Jata, Oya Jalo, they're in the country, but a lot of them have fled the country and are outside in other countries. So it's definitely a very strong message that, yes, we are coming for you and we will get you.
So what are we pushing before Mr. Ade come in here? I mean, we still have some of them in the country.
Yes.
And, you know, we cannot keep just looking at them like that. Absolutely. I mean, atrocities have been committed. I mean, people have been killed. So at some point, I mean, we don't think it will be wise enough to let them be walking and free like that. You know,
Definitely.
At some point, something needs to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think people were a little bit patient during the Truth Commission when things were being, and because people needed to know the truth, needed to know the truth about their loved ones, what happened to them. So the Truth Commission really did a good job at that when people, for the most part, of course, they were not able to address everybody's, all the victims and all these cases due to the limitation of the mandate, of course. But it was a time where people were being patient and looking to know the truth. Now that the truth has come out, people, the victims, you can imagine how disheartened you could be if finding the person who allegedly, you know, caused harm to you and your family, killed your loved one, is walking about, going to ngentes and Asian social activities. There was even one time when it was reported that one of the junglers was a taxi driver. You know, you're socializing with them. You're in the same space with them. In Gambia, such a small country, it can be a ticking time bomb. So we really need to do something about it. Definitely, those out there also we are urging, because they're not just in Germany. We're urging in the other countries where they are to really take this universal jurisdiction in international law, which is there to protect everybody. Crimes, that is injustice anywhere, is injustice everywhere.
Yeah.
And make sure that, you know, we start working to really stamp out this impunity against these heinous crimes.
Yeah, and we have Baba Haidara on the line, and we'll also engage him. Good morning, Baba. Good morning, Baba.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, Baba, it's good to have you here. I have Aunty Sira in the studio with me, and the widow of the late Dot Fall. We're discussing some of the atrocities committed by the former president and the conviction of Bailo. Please, what does this mean to you, Baba?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hello to Sira and to Fal. This conviction that happened last week, Thursday, is a big milestone for all the victim communities in Gambia, and also for the Gambia as a country. You know, we've been a dictatorial rule 2 years, and it ended 2016, and since then we victims, we were looking for the platform. So then come the victims. The victim center was created by victims and also human rights activists that came together and created. And that platform we used all these years to fight for victims. And one of those fights is also to get justice. So we started this fight for justice way back. This court that happened in Germany somehow was facilitated by universal jurisdiction, and also the fight that we started since the inception of this institution that is the Victim Center. And Thursday, what happened? We all came to court, and the judge, the sitting judge, read the statement of the judgment. But while reading the statement of the judgment, he said something very displeasing, because he said that the MOJ, not MOJ, but the government didn't really cooperate with most of the witnesses that they needed for the case. And this we took it very, very seriously when this case started, because with those witnesses, then we cannot have a case. And the German side, they facilitated that most of these witnesses coming to Germany for the case were sorted out with their travels, with their accommodations, and everything. So imagine the Germans are doing all that effort, and the emoji icons, the ones that MOD and Ministry Foreign Affairs. It's those two ministries actually that will be in charge of detecting that witnesses go money and testify. So the sitting Supreme Court judge is the one that said it, and said it boldly, saying that I didn't understand why they are not really cooperating with some of the witnesses that we wanted in this court. But Alhamdulillah, in the end, we got what we wanted. And that was the first conviction of Ajangula. And that paved the way for other convictions. We are expecting soon, the one of Usman Song in Switzerland. And we are also expecting the one of Korea in the US. With all these two judgments coming to our favor, the victims, what we will be aiming for, inshallah, is to have Yahya Jammeh in court one day. Because to be honest, since this new regime came, one of the pillars, which was the rule of law, we were supposed to bring it back, this rule of law, because it was not existent. All of us, we knew this through the TRRC, when we heard stories. So with this new regime, what we want is to rebuild our rule of law and make sure that most of these individuals that committed crimes should be brought to justice. And this is what I wanted also to clarify.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Baba. Ante Sira, would you like to engage Baba Haidara?
Baba, congratulations once again on this. I hope that brings you a little bit more closure, because I know it's never easy. The conviction will not bring the deceased back, your loved one back, but at least it serves to prevent. And really, I think I want to thank you on behalf of the victims and every Gambian for the steadfastness you and family have put yourself through to get us to this point, to make sure that impunity is erased, that, like you said, there's justice. I just want to echo on the part that you talked about, the disheartening statement by the judge about the Gambia government's lack of cooperation, which was really very shocking to me. The government, through the Minister of Justice, have always been emphasizing that they are cooperating, they are facilitating, and there's a lot of statements out there in the public space on their website saying that they have been cooperating with these governments. To hear that this has the government, the German government feels differently or is saying differently is worrying, especially like you mentioned with these upcoming cases with Usman Sonko. It is very vital that we have the witnesses with their statements and all the documents and that they are facilitated to attend, but also to get evidence to be able to convict them. Without the evidence, it can be problematic. We really do not want anybody to be tried and then they are not convicted for lack of evidence or for lack of information. That would be disastrous. And I think that would be one of the most painful things for the victims. So we really would want to urge the Gambia government to really make sure that this does not happen in the upcoming cases of Usman Sonko, which is, I think, in January 8th, and the case of Michael Correa, and any other person that we would be out there. We really need the government to step up on that part and make sure that they're supporting the process and making sure that the information and the evidence that is needed and the witnesses are supported. It's also disheartening for the victims that, other countries seem to be taking their plight more seriously than their own government. So really, that is something that we would need to change, and something I think we should, as the CSO's victim-led organization, should engage with the Minister of Justice to find out if there was a break somewhere, because they are saying that they are supporting, while the German government was saying otherwise, and use it as a lesson to learn, to make sure that the other cases don't go the same, and also that making sure that the upcoming ones, any other case that come up, we have this, not only the failures, but also to do a thorough assessment of how we handled the Bailo case, to learn the best practices that could help us in other cases, universal jurisdiction cases, but also the cases of prosecutions that we're expecting to start in the Gambia, and the challenges that they face, and see how do we work on those to make sure that that is not the case for the other cases. So thank you very much, Baba. I hope you get back soon and we'll be able to engage more, but definitely let's do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Baba, for talking to us on QTV this morning. All right. Yes, that's Baba Haidara there. Mr. Ade, we have like 6 minutes to go. Okay. Yes.
And just for anybody, just a technical matter to clear up. If you're in Germany, you might be wondering what this case is all about. In Germany, you're not allowed in the newspapers to mention the person's full name. Yes. So in the German newspaper, it just says by L. So if you are outside of Germany, we use his full name by Lo. So if you're reading the German papers, they're talking about the same person. But Sarah, if I could just broaden this out beyond this verdict, you have engaged with us here at QTV on many occasions regarding the victims, the families of victims. And we've heard there this quite scathing comment from the judge. But in terms of the victims that you've been dealing with and the families of victims, I should say rather, even some victims have died since the TRRC made its recommendations. How are you engaging with those people in terms of trying to bring their case forward to say, these people need justice? they need treatment, they need some sort of reparations. How are you dealing with that?
We've been constantly engaging with the Minister of Justice, who is the the lead on the Truth Commission and the transitional justice process regarding this, the Victims Reparation Bill. Trying to push for that, trying to push for even interim reparations, if you can call it that way, because the reparations that were done during the Truth Commission stopped at the end of the Truth Commission, and there was no other structure or framework for reparations for victims who need help.
Sure.
I was in Basse last week, and during the opening ceremony of our traveling exhibition, we have a couple of victims come up and talk about their stories. And actually, one of them, when she went home, she collapsed. She hasn't been able to get medical assistance. And that's what they're crying for, medical assistance, medical assistance. A lot of the victims are suffering from medical conditions that, that they are not able to take care of on their own. They all complain that the ticket for the hospital has now or is about to go up to $100 is from $25. And that's been the whole cry. I was there from, engaging with the victim Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and that was the biggest thing for them. The support medical. We heard about the case of some of them that died. One of them, I was speaking to one of a friend of Sukai Dahaba who passed away. And, she got sick and she went to the hospital and could not get $4,000 to take care of her situation at that time. It is a shame. It is a shame on us all Gambians that this is happening to victims. So we really have been engaging at that time, even before the victim, that they at least try to do something before the Victim Reparations Bill. Yes, we understand that they're trying to put a proper framework in place, a legal framework that would really make it law, even though it is, I don't know,
but as you said,
international law makes it, reparation is there. But I understand strengthening it with the framework, but at least we believe that there could have been some interim measures that could have been taken. There was a time when 150 million was put on the budget for victim reparation. Even during the time of the Truth Commission, they were promised more money. When after the 50 million, they never gave them anymore. They were promised more during the Truth Commission, and they failed. They put 150 million in the budget for reparations, and they failed. And the following year, they failed. And this year, they have also failed the victims in that aspect. So really, the government needs to step up on how it is treating the victims who are citizens and who this is their right. So their rights are further being violated. Can you imagine? Your right is violated, and on top of that, your right is further being violated and putting you in situations like our son Sid. Sid was not able to complete his education. I had, Ibrahim Anyasi was on TV the other day being interviewed on GRTS. His family, that is the son of Dawda Anyasi, who was one of the, complainants of the case against Bailo. They were not able to finish their education. What is the future for these young men and these young women whose father left them at a very early age when they're a few months old, and now they're still struggling from 1994? Can you imagine? It was 29 years this November.
That's a long time.
29 years this November that is happening. For 29 years, you're waiting for help. You're waiting for you're waiting for your right to be given to you.
That's your right.
That's your right to be given to be given to you.
True. Yeah.
So we really urge the government to step up.
Exactly.
Yes, the justice is, conviction of Bailo is a major milestone. It's a big thing. But we hope that the government sees this and is learning from it, and it's also taking the steps that it needs to make sure that justice also comes, because yes, reparations is great, but it has to be a holistic solution.
True.
You cannot just give reparations and ignore the justice and accountability part.
Yes.
It needs to be a holistic
solution. Time is already up.
Enemy.
Yeah, so this is what we have. Thank you. Bugon na pour lache la. Finally, lo bugon rek pour wax ñi nga xamne ñoo wara tax justice daw. Lo amone pour wax len, because affaire bi mu ngi slow de. Mu ngi melni ñu ngi xawa faté affaire yi té dafa slow. Waaw.
Slow na torop. Man dama xamul lutax muy drag depuis 1994 ba légui.